Hello Team FD and welcome back to Winners and Losers, where we take a look at the highs and the lows of the footballing weekend just past. Joining me, it's Michael McCubbin.
Yes. Rare appearance.
Fresh from his latest non-league vlogs outing.
Yes.
And fresh from our latest away day. We went to Brentford, didn't we? Griffin Park.
We did, yeah. Fantastic place to go and watch a game.
Enjoy yourself?
I thoroughly enjoyed myself. It was, we were a bit spoiled, weren't we?
Baltic.
2-0 down in the first 10 minutes, and then they came back to win 5-2. So
a 7-goal thriller.
Probably the best match we could have gone to be honest.
We're thinking about QPR next, aren't we?
We
if
are
you're a
thinking about
fan of a championship club and you want to go, for a drink with me and McCubbin pre-game, then drop a comment below and make that happen. Anyway, today's episode of Winners and Losers is brought to you by our friends over at Now TV, and you can pick up a Sky Sports Now TV month pass for just £5.99, gets you access to 5 channels and, most importantly, access to the big game tonight at the London Stadium. It's Liverpool versus West Ham. With Manchester City winning yesterday, this game is even more important. So click the link in the description below if you want access to that game for the minimal fee of £5.99. And that takes us nicely to our talking point, McCubbin, which is the game in hand.
Yeah.
Of course, a lot of the big news happened over the weekend. Now, Manchester City and Tottenham both grabbed all 3 points this weekend, so the pressure is on the Reds to put space between them at the summit and the chasing pack. And if Liverpool win, they go 5 points clear yet again and 7 above Spurs. But in recent weeks, ex-Liverpool managers doing the Red Men big favours here, there and everywhere, namely Rafa Benitez with that victory over Manchester City. Can we flip the coin? Can Pellegrini do the citizens a favour by claiming an unlikely, admittedly, victory over Liverpool here?
Yeah, I mean, it could happen. Obviously, West Ham not in the best form at the moment. City have a pretty good record at the London Stadium as well. But obviously, won the league with City back in 2014. Beat Liverpool in the League Cup final 2016.
Pedigree.
Caballero, the hero in that match, I remember.
So
yeah, he's got the stars could align. And actually, it's interesting if West Ham were to take points off Liverpool, or at least if they were to beat Liverpool, City could be top going into the weekend because they've got that game in hand, or not necessarily game in hand. They'll have played a game more because they're playing Everton midweek. Obviously, that's because of the League Cup final as well. That's had to be rearranged. So yeah, if West Ham were to win tonight, it would be big in terms of the title race. You'd kind of back City to beat Everton midweek and go top. But having said that, obviously West Ham, not in great form at the moment. They've suffered 3 losses on the bounce, haven't won since their victory over Arsenal at home on January the 12th. So that's 1 win in their last 5. But there is a slight chance. They do have a bit of a reputation for taking points off the big sides this term. They obviously took points from Arsenal in that match. They beat Man United earlier in the season and have also taken points off Chelsea. And the good news for the Hammers is that Marko Arnautovic is likely to be back after being left out against Bournemouth after all that transfer speculation. Apparently he wasn't quite in the right headspace, and who can blame him really? All the talk was about him in those last couple of weeks of the transfer window, wasn't it? West Ham also have question marks over Cresswell and Fabianski, which is a little bit worrying.
Being extremely important because Adrian is a big step down, isn't he?
He is. I mean, I think Adrian's a fine keeper, but Fabianski has been probably one of the best in the league this season, hasn't he? Definitely one of the most consistent over the last few seasons. And also Nasri is going to miss the game, which is a shame. Obviously, former employee of Man City as well would probably like to get in on trying to do them a favour tonight.
Really? I don't think he has loyalties anywhere, to be honest.
Well, I don't know.
Salazar Nasri. But shock horror, one of West Ham's new signings unfit for service after weeks at the club. Yeah, so they need to kind of improve the fitness of their first team, don't they, to stand any chance in this. Let's hope Arnautovic can make an impression and keep this title bid exciting.
Yes.
Like I've said before, wouldn't mind Liverpool winning it, but we want drama down to the dying embers, don't we? Now, with the title Liverpool's to lose effectively at current, Klopp's side will be looking to bounce back in a big way following that 1-1 draw with Leicester last week, where I actually thought they were lucky to escape with a point after that second half. James Maddison missing an absolute sitter. The first time Liverpool have dropped points to a team outside of the top 6 this season.
That is astounding, isn't it?
But Leicester are one of those teams who are probably flirting with, progressing into the top six, at least at various points over the last couple of years. Have a very good starting 11 and have been a tricky proposition for a lot of the top six sides, actually.
Including City.
So far this season, they've only dropped points at the Emirates, the Etihad and Stamford Bridge. They've also kept 6 clean sheets away from home this term, already more than they managed over the entirety of 17-18. And it's no secret, is it, that they've tightened up at the back, and Van Dijk has a big part to play in that. However, the Reds do go into the game knowing that in their previous 2 visits to the London Stadium, they scored 8 goals. So when they beat West Ham, it doesn't tend to be by a fine margin. They tend to hand them an absolute whooping. And the attack is still on lethal form. Mo Salah has 4 in his last 5, and Firmino has 5 in 5. Salah, of course, now on 16 goals in total. That's really crept up, hasn't it, over the last few weeks?
Massively.
No high-profile hat tricks, not as many last-minute winners as last season, maybe. A few penalties here and there, but I think he's notched up 7 assists as well. So the front 3 firing on all cylinders. And as a team, only lost 1 in their last 6 Premier League games, which is that 2-1 defeat to Manchester City. So should be fairly confident now with the run-in, given the opposition, that they should be able to see this out. And James Milner, the experienced blockhead of James Milner, returns following his suspension. So I'd probably expect him to slot in at right back.
Yeah, that is the problem position at the moment.
Yeah,
isn't it? And he can do a job
there.
at left back, yeah.
Yeah, to
Hendo
okay
as well.
effect against Leicester. Hendo, of course, Alexander-Arnold and Gomez out. So Hendo might return to the centre of the pitch. Keita might drop out. He's been in sort of inconsistent form, hasn't he? And Liverpool all of a sudden have near enough their starting 11 back together for this crucial month of fixtures. Manchester City, of course, have a lot of ties in this month as well, which we're going to cover off in one of the next sections. But guys, will Liverpool see out this title bid? Who will win tonight's game? Get your score predictions in the comments below. And anyone who's right, shout out on Twitter from McCubbin's account.
Oh yeah? Cool. Can't promise that. Our first winners this week are Tottenham Hotspur. This comes from @JakePG96. Thanks for sending it in. What went down at Wembley, Chris?
Well, I'll tell you what went down. A bloody last gasp winner from Heung-min Son, their saviour, yet again firing Tottenham into second place, albeit temporarily, with a strike 7 minutes from time at Wembley to claim 3 points over Newcastle. A very dogged Newcastle. Now, the 1-0 victory might have looked relatively comfortable on paper, as Tottenham had 72% possession and 21 shots to Newcastle's 8. But look a little bit closer, I mean, excluding the nature of the goal and it being quite last minute. And there is reason for concern if you're Poch. Only 4 of those shots coming on target. And Newcastle putting in a monstrous 17 tackles, so really disrupting Tottenham's midfield, able to get in and amongst their build-up play. Now, the Lily Whites clearly miss Harry Kane and Dele Alli. Who wouldn't miss 2 players of that calibre? And find themselves massively reliant on Son, despite the fact he's just come back from the Asian Cup. Might be a little bit jaded, a bit fatigued, but he's filling in so well. 10 goals, 14 goal involvements in his last 12 games. He is carrying them during this period. Now, Son had more shots than anyone else in this game. 5 shots, just the 1 on target. Completed the most sprints with 16 and made 4 dribbles, which is double anyone else. So all the quality was coming through him. He also had a pass completion of 91%, which is pretty good given his advanced area on the pitch. And despite Fernando Llorente frustrating the crowd with 4 shots, 0 coming on target, you know, when Tottenham build up play quickly, his always looks pretty laboured, doesn't he? Yeah. He is a little bit out of his depth in that squad, but he's doing his best. And his assist for Son means that he's now been involved in 7 goals in his last 8 games. So he really is huffing and puffing. Yeah. At the other end of the pitch, though, they were reliant on Mr. Reliable, weren't they, to keep the shutout? Yeah, for sure. Jan Vertonghen was fantastic, you know, as we're used to seeing in a Spurs shirt. 142 touches he had, and he delivered 14 crosses from open play.
he was the man trying to batter down the Newcastle door. And the late winner means Pochettino's side set a new Premier League record, 29 matches in a row without a draw. Obviously, they haven't drawn a game in the league yet this season, and that eclipses Bolton's previous record of 28 that they set back in 2011.
The Trotters' solitary Premier League record gone from the books.
Yeah.
And now, pretty much a League One club. So how the mighty have fallen.
Yeah, that's kind of like, I guess that's kind of put an end to a whole era of Premier League football there, hasn't it? Those were the days. But it's interesting though that Spurs have lost 6 games so far this season. That's usually enough to count you out of the title race altogether, and especially how high calibre the title race this is this season. Liverpool and City have been kind of breaking records again this season. But they're still in it, and that's just on account of them winning every single other game. So yeah, that's a pretty impressive record actually, given the actual context of it. Obviously, Bolton in 2011, probably not so much. But as for Newcastle, this loss puts them in 15th place. They're just 2 points above the drop now, so bit of a come down from that City game. Although 3 points from those 2 games, they would take it, wouldn't they? They've now lost 13 of their last 14 Premier League games away to the Big Six. That's since beating Tottenham in December 2015, 2-1. And again, they were quite unlucky. They defended well for the entire game. Total of 41 clearances. Wow. Shah and Lascelles both contributing 9 each. Very, very impressive from the 2 defenders. A total of 32 tackles and interceptions. So this was a very hard-working display from the Magpies, and it just unfortunately didn't pay off for them. And if it hadn't been for that error, probably would have been a 0-0, which would have been lovely. But luckily it wasn't, because they were down there, weren't they, doing Vox Box?
Yes, Liv went to Wembley Stadium to find out what the fans thought. So now we've unpicked the game. Let's go over to Liv to see what the fans thought.
What did you make of the game? You happy to get all 3 points?
Yeah, really happy to get all 3 points. Really tough at this time of the season. Yeah. And they kept at it and got the result, so it's brilliant.
I thought we did well to come out of it with all 3 points in the end. Great goal from Son. Just pleased to come out with 3 points.
Just delighted to get a win.
There we go.
Well, great to be honest, was it? Just at the end, 1-0 win.
Possession game.
Yeah.
Possession game.
We weren't shooting enough, to be honest, in my
So you're really missing Harry Kane, aren't you?
To be honest, and Ali, yeah.
Delighted to get the win today. That was all we needed to do. Didn't want to slip up like we did against Wolves. Put the pressure on City and on Liverpool. So I think they've got a wobble.
It's a bit boring though, wasn't it?
I thought we got quite lucky, to be honest.
Yeah.
It was a great finish from Son in the last kind of 10 minutes of the game. But I thought, all credit to Newcastle, they played really well. They defended extremely well.
And you've gone above City now,
Yep.
2nd place. Do you think we should be taking Tottenham more seriously in the title challenge?
Yes. For sure we should be.
I don't think we want to be talking about Tottenham in the title race at the moment. I think we want to be doing what we're doing, going back under the radar. We like it when people don't think we're in the title race.
That's very rational.
Not until we've actually established ourselves above City. Yeah. City are probably the best team in the country at the moment. I don't think Liverpool are the best team in the league at the moment, even though they're points clear and everything.
Should we be taking Tottenham more seriously in the title race?
Oh, it's still going to be difficult. Still a few points behind. Yeah. But you never know. They still dropped some points, Liverpool, and that could happen. We'll just have to see.
I mean, we're only actually off Liverpool. I think we're now 4 points off Liverpool. So,
7.
They just need to slip up, and we're just on their heels. So it's a great place to be.
Of course, you have to be serious if you want to match. Every single match you have to take seriously.
So do you think they can win the title?
I'm keep hopeful. Why not?
Although I don't want Liverpool to win the league, I hope City don't get a result at Arsenal this weekend.
So are you supporting Arsenal tomorrow?
Oh, I couldn't say that, but I don't want City to get a result.
I think you are.
I wouldn't say I'm supporting Arsenal, I just want City to lose.
So you're supporting Arsenal?
No, I want City to lose.
I think they're the same thing.
We had this conversation on the train on the way up. Is it better for a draw? But generally want Arsenal to lose. But yeah, we'll see.
I can't go on camera and say anything other than, I mean, you can't support the Goons.
A draw at this point would be lovely.
Yeah,
but
they're not in it though, are they? They're 10 points behind us now, so maybe, Yeah, no, I can't say it. I can't do it. I nearly did.
Almost,
I can't do it.
City. Just for once, I'll be supporting Arsenal tomorrow.
Finally, no one's admitted they'll be supporting Arsenal.
It's very difficult to say.
Surely you're supporting Arsenal.
Just keep it in your mind. I will tell you tomorrow. Thank you.
Our first losers are Huddersfield, and this comes from Lichty CFC 04. The Terriers are terrible, and they should just call it a day.
Yeah, it's a shame, really. It is a
it?
shame. And I watched the Vibe trip to Huddersfield as well yesterday. It was quite entertaining. But,
Has it not clocked it yet?
But the football club are they're on their way to the Championship, aren't they? You would have thought that Chelsea, having suffered their biggest Premier League loss in 23 years midweek, would have lifted spirits, would have maybe given them some hope. But no, they went there and lost 5-0. So that just about says it all, doesn't it? But good news for Chelsea fans though. Gonzalo Higuain's on the score sheet, isn't he? And just part of a very accomplished performance by the Blues. Obviously, he got 2. Eden Hazard got 2 as well. David Luiz also bagged himself a goal. So yeah, fantastic if you're a Chelsea fan. Not so much if you're a Huddersfield supporter. They've not won any of their last 7 trips to the capital. They've scored just once in that time. And their lack of goals has been what's cost them this campaign. They've now failed to score in a league-high 13 different games this campaign, which is just unacceptable, really is.
Oh, the poor fans.
Yeah.
The poor fans, man.
And and they've built a reputation of being some of the loudest fans in the league over the last year. So, it's a shame, isn't it, really? But 13 actually is an unlucky number for them. They are 13 games without a win, 13 points from safety, and they've only scored 13 themselves this campaign. 13 goals this season. That's awful. That's 3 less than Mo Salah alone. And just heard that Man City scored more goals in January than they did in the entirety of 2018. So, yeah, it's just not looking good, is it?
God,
Derby
they
vibes
must be
here.
loyal down at the Kirklees because that is a tough watch, isn't it? Given the brand of football they played as well, just never been able to take that positive football and make it work in the Premier League.
I just don't think they just haven't had the investment or the playing staff, have they? I think obviously
Wagner was their great hope.
Yeah, and Wagner did the best job he probably could, and they just didn't quite have the players for it. But yeah, and just to kind of go.
Bradford when they came up.
God, I don't even remember that.
And they
so
signed
there
Carl
you go.
Brone on like a 40 grand a week contract, and then went into financial meltdown. So Huddersfield, at least they're geared for the Championship again, aren't they? You can see them sort of doing well, maybe bouncing back up.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
it's probably time this dog was put down.
Yeah, for sure. And it's one of those things, it's like you think about Sean Dyche's Burnley a few years ago. They went down, came back up, and going down and coming back up was good for them. It hardered them. If they can keep this squad together, add a bit more quality in while they're in the Championship, then perhaps they can come back stronger. But back to the game at hand, obviously probably didn't expect to get a result away at Chelsea given their recent form, but they will be disappointed by this display under new boss Jan Sievert. They couldn't get near the Chelsea players. They struggled to get hold of the ball with just 35% possession. And right winger Adama Diakhaby has to be singled out for a pretty woeful display. He lost the ball 9 times and completed just 14 passes, the fewest amount of any player. You can understand the passes if the ball's not being fed into him at all, but losing the ball 9 times is pretty unforgivable.
Yeah, it was maybe tasked with sort of the transition for the entire attack, and just it was probably beyond him, wasn't it? Hard to see where Huddersfield's goals are going to come from every time they play. So Aaron Moy last season was sort of one of their standout creators, wasn't he? And he's also like a battling central midfielder, and that's been the case again this season, and more specifically in this match. So 5 shots throughout compared to Chelsea's 23. Hazard absolutely stealing the show here. 2 goals, completed 12 dribbles.
Wow.
What a tough afternoon for the Huddersfield defence.
Like
Hazard
Neymar.
was literally taking the piss. And he grabbed an assist as well. Linked up superbly with new signing Higuain, Maurizio Sarri absolutely purring about their potential partnership after the game. And it's got to be said, Higuain loves playing under Sarri. That's 38 goals in his last 37 league appearances under the Italian. So he knows how to get the best out of him. And hopefully that bedding in period that we saw, against Sheffield Wednesday and Bournemouth won't return. He took an impressive 6 shots in this game, much better than in those defeats against Bournemouth, like I said, and victory over Sheffield Wednesday. I think in the 4-0 defeat to Bournemouth, didn't take a single shot. Kante is enjoying playing in his advanced role as well. It's pretty much, this was a feel-good result that Maurizio Sarri needed. He needed his changes to be, his signings and his tactical changes to be justified, and here they were. Kante, 4 key passes, 91% pass accuracy, 2 assists in this game. The first time in his career that he's provided 2 goals for his teammates in a top flight game, and I believe that takes his goal involvements to around 5 or 6, which sort of is more than all the previous seasons combined. A big shout out to Marcos Alonso in this game. This is the sort of opposition that he thrives against when he can be an auxiliary attacker, winning the ball back in really promising positions. 7 successful tackles, more than the whole Huddersfield defence made, all 90, who managed just 6. So a big win for Chelsea as they move up to 4th. They needed to bounce back. It was expected, but victory here was as unexpected as a heavy loss, to Bournemouth. So looking to cement Champions League football, aren't they? Next up for Sarri's men, a mouth-watering tie against Manchester City at the Etihad.
Big.
Meanwhile, Huddersfield doesn't really get any easier. They play Arsenal at home, and Arsenal have thrived against the smaller sides as well this season, haven't they? So yeah, sorry Huddersfield fans. Might see you in our losers yet again before the season is out.
Our final winners come from @0foxgiven75. Interesting name. You've gone for Manchester City, of course, because they ended up battering Arsenal yesterday, didn't they?
They did. We watched it on the live stream. Armchair fans, if you joined us for that, big up yourself. You saw Sergio Aguero, or at least our reaction to Sergio Aguero scoring his 14th hat-trick for Manchester City as the Blues absolutely romped a victory over Arsenal 3-1, bringing City up to 34 goals already for 2019. It's like a cheat code, isn't it? This also brings the Argentinian to 10 Premier League hat-tricks. I think this one was from a combined 5 or 10 yards. Not very far out, but some lovely football in the build-up. One behind Alan Shearer, the mighty Alan Shearer, our top goal scorer in the Premier League, who tops the list with 11. So Aguero to boot, as well as this, pending hat-trick record, also has now scored the 2 quickest goals of the season, this season, within his last 2 games. 24 seconds versus Arsenal and 46 versus Newcastle. So hitting the ground running is an understatement. A very, very good win for the champions. I mean, barring a sort of 20-minute period in the first half, they really just took the sting out of the game, didn't they? Really managed Arsenal throughout. Still breathing down the necks of Liverpool as well, with a sort of makeshift 4-2-3-1, I think. Fernandinho playing at centre-half. So he was singled out by Pep Guardiola for praise after this game, and rightly so as well. But it did look for a fleeting moment like we might have a game on when Koscielny knocked in from a corner. And there's a worrying trend developing for City, as 3 of the 4 games they've lost in the Premier League this season have come after they've scored first. So the 27th minute versus Palace, they lost 3-2, and in the 14th versus Leicester before losing 2-1. But Aguero re-establishing that lead with just his second shot, and as soon as they got into the second half, my oh my, it was a non-contest, wasn't it? The average position of that Manchester City back 4 must have been 5 yards into Arsenal's half. They were just bombarded, and the Arsenal defence looked ragged, didn't they? And that might come as some surprise to Arsenal fans who have come to expect their team to perform better in the second half. Been notorious slow starters this campaign. They didn't manage a single shot in the second 45. The first time since May 2015, when they were roundly bullied out of a game by Manchester United. And at the end of the game, the stats looked as you would expect. 59% possession for City, 19 shots, 12 on target to Arsenal's 4, only 2 coming on target. This was an absolute murdering. McCubbin.
It was.
Emery's not a big fan of Guardiola, is he?
He's not, and it's a shame actually, because they did actually look quite bright in that first half hour, didn't they, Arsenal? But no, yeah, he's got a pretty woeful record against the former Barca, to say the least. He's never beaten him in his career as a manager, and that's in 11 games. He's drawn 4 and lost a staggering 7. To be fair, you know, he came up against, you know, one of the greatest club sides of all time when he was at Barcelona, and this City team, you know, one of the best Premier League sides of all time. So you've got to kind of
feel for him.
But it still does compound what is an awful away record for Arsenal. This really does seem a bit strange considering they were so bad away from home last season. Emery hasn't been able to change that really.
No.
They've lost 12 times this season. Only Brighton and Huddersfield have worse away records than the Gunners. That is worrying. The win, though, means that City have won the last 4 top-flight games against Arsenal for the first time since 1937. They've never been able to beat them 4 times in a row since then. And that was when City and Arsenal were both giants of the English game as well, I believe, in the late 30s. But anyway, enough with the history lesson. They obviously won with a makeshift team, like you were saying, Chris. Fernandinho at centre-back, Laporte at left-back, obviously got that assist for the first Aguero goal from there. And De Bruyne and Gundogan in central midfield also both had very good games. Great to see De Bruyne looking back nearly to his best. You know, created so many chances. Unlucky not to create a goal, actually.
Everywhere along that front line, wasn't he? Taking up a wide position on the right and sort of swapping with Sergio Aguero and being the last man. And that front line was so fluid last night that the Arsenal defence was just absolutely bamboozled, weren't they?
They were. And I think this is the confidence boost that City need, because they have got an almighty month ahead. You know, if this next month goes wrong, then Liverpool could wrap up the title sooner than we expect, because they obviously have Everton midweek, then they play Arsenal on the weekend, Chelsea, Borough or Newport in the FA Cup, Schalke twice, obviously, Chelsea then in the Carabao Cup final, and then West Ham at home. I think that's all in February. And I think obviously Liverpool don't have Carabao Cup, don't have FA Cup, so they play a good two less games than City this month, and that could work in Klopp's favour. Obviously, he's had troubles in the past with injuries and winter break, kind of messing up his kind of how he likes to do things. And on that subject, Liverpool have West Ham away, Bournemouth at home, Bayern at home, United away and Watford at home over the next month. So some tough ones in there, especially Bayern in the Champions League. That is going to be tough. United away, I think that could be a defining game potentially. But just in terms of workload in general, a lot less going on at Anfield over the next month, and they may benefit for it. Obviously, if Liverpool lose to West Ham tonight, City could see themselves go top on Wednesday. But City doing what they need to do at the moment, winning games, bouncing back from the Newcastle loss. So I think it could be a very interesting month ahead. Let's see what happens.
Decisive. Our final loser before we wrap this up comes from @Daniel Dickens, which is pretty ironic because he suggested PSG, the most English sounding user today. However, Les Parisiens did lose a certain streak, didn't they?
They did, an unbeaten one in Liga, and that's coming to an end now. But, you know, they probably won't mind too much. They're going to win the league anyway, aren't they? But this unbeaten run obviously stretched back 23 games, the 12th of May 2018. So it means that they can't do an unbeaten season. That's probably one of the things they'd like to do, wouldn't it, given that they do tend to just run away with it year on year. And this game ended 2-1 away at Lyon. Manager Tuchel will probably be quite frustrated because they did start the game well. They took the lead through Di Maria in the 7th minute, very well taken goal. But then later in the first half, goalkeeper Areola, who had been very solid actually up until this point, flapped it across and allowed Moussa Dembele to equalise before captain Thiago Silva then took down Dembele to allow Fekir to score the winner from the spot in the second half. So a good game for Dembele. Scored and, by effect created the winner. But obviously PSG still 10 points clear of Lille in second and 13 points ahead of Lyon and have 2 games in hand as well. So they're still going to win this at a canter, but it's just good to know that they can be pegged back, and Lyon have done that a couple of times in the last 2 years, haven't they? So there's, maybe promising signs for the future that Ligue 1 isn't always going to be a one-horse race. But just to emphasise how dominant PSG have been this season, this is just the third time in 21 games that they've conceded more than one goal in a single league game. And they've been averaging 3.3 goals a game themselves. That's crazy. I think that's more than Monaco were managing in that season with Mbappe and whatnot. Like and they broke records, I'm pretty sure. So this is pretty amazing. I'll pretend I know what that means, but
I think it means I've hurt my head.
Ah, okay, fair.
Because of the stats.
Nice. But despite looking like an even game, with PSG having 55% of the ball and 16 shots with 9 on target to Lyon's 14 and 10 on target, Lyon created by far the better chances. I personally thought, just from watching the highlights, that they were much the better team, and XG actually backs this up. 3.4 to 1.9 in Lyon's favour.
Good.
That's pretty staggering.
That's what we like to say.
And it does make sense because both goalkeepers were on fine form, apart from Areola's a mistake in that first goal. He was pretty resolute, as was the Lyon keeper as well. But what does this mean for Lyon, Hamill?
Yes, the Lyon fans will be delighted, McCubbin, as revenge is a dish best served cold, isn't it? And they will no doubt have been reeling after that 5-0 defeat in the reverse fixture. But this means they've now won 3 of their last 7 against the capital club. So edging towards that slightly respectable 1-2 record against the giants of the French game. Now, Bruno Genesio's men have, by and large, recovered from a bit of a dodgy period now. We're in February. So between the 16th of December and the 16th of January, they only won 1 game, drawing 3. They've now won their last 3 games, albeit by a 1-goal margin. So while being dogged in these games, and it is fine margins to stay in the Champions League places in Ligue 1. Key performers in this game, people that helped them secure this valuable 3 points. 24-year-old right back Leo Dubois, 4 tackles, 1 aerial duel, 1 key pass, and 1 assist for Dembele's header. And that's not the first towering header he scored in recent weeks, of course, scoring against Marseille, I believe, and breaking my heart every time I watch his highlights on Twitter, because he's more than a £20 million player. Of course, we were lowballed. Nightmare. Anyway, he was also great in this game, apparently. 3 aerial duels, 1, 2 key passes, 3 shots, 1 goal. He's now got 7 goals and 3 assists in just over 1,000 Ligue 1 minutes. That's a goal contribution every 104. And of course, no mean feat breaking into that Lyon forward line, is it? Man of the match has to be their talisman Fekir, though. And they'll be wondering what life would have been like without him had he completed his move to Liverpool, because he's still so influential for Lyon. 89% pass accuracy in this game. He's always a bit of a metronome, isn't he? Very good at retaining possession. 6 tackles and interceptions, 1 aerial duel, 1, 2 dribbles, 4 shots and 1 goal. So an action-packed performance. Everything in this game was really working his socks off. Now has 10 goals and 5 assists in 22 league and UCL games in 18-19. So really not letting up on that tremendous return of last season. Next up, PSG will hope to bounce back against Bordeaux, who have just signed Josh Maja from Lyon, you know. So maybe he'll start. Maybe Dougie is going to become a de facto Bordeaux fan on Saturday before taking on United away on Tuesday. What a game that'll be. We're thinking about doing that for an armchair fans or for a football social. Either way, Football Daily will have a live package around that game, methinks. So get your score predictions in for that. Will PSG defeat Manchester City? Manchester City?
Manchester United.
Yeah, they'd be hard fought to do that, wouldn't they? They're not playing them. Let us know in the poll just above PSG United. So guys, like we said at the start of the show, if you want to catch the big game tonight, then go and buy your Now TV Sky Sports month pass for just £5.99 for you Football Daily subscribers. Click the link in the description below to take us up on that offer. I will be watching. We were just saying off camera, weren't we, that the start of this year has been made that much better by the fact that we have a genuine title, people contending for the title. Will you be tuning in, mate?
I will be tuning in.
What do you expect to unfurl?
I think Liverpool will probably win if I'm hedging my bets, I'd say.
I think they're going to batter them.
Yeah.
I think they're going to batter West Ham. Although, I do like Diop. So, so did Joe Cole.
Yeah, nice.
So, you know,
from
on our
a
live
West
stream.
Ham and Liverpool player.
Go back and watch. Go back and watch our transfer deadline day show with Joe Cole because he came up with some great anecdotes. And apart from that, you know, what else are we putting out that's a little bit more current, recent?
Ooh, current. Well, FDFC, lots of great things going on there. Sevens, pro clubs, get your teeth into those strands because they are popping off at the moment. As for EFD, we've got a recent scout report came out on the weekend about the clubs that didn't do so well in the transfer market this January. Go and check that. And of course, Stat Wars the League, the new season, me versus Bab. I believe your first game was recently as well?
It was. I faced up against Dave Jackson,
That's
but I
it.
think I'm taking on Sam Obaseki next, who claimed an unlikely result in his first fixture. ERU, live in an hour. Go and check that out too, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Like and subscribe and all that jazz.
Bye.